Vernon Smith is an economist who did most of his research while he was a professor at the University of Arizona. Smith was one of the first economists to hold the discipline to our third principle, empiricism. Economists had taken for granted that competitive forces will drive markets to equilibrium. Vernon Smith decided to run experiments to check and see if that was actually true. In one of his many experiments, he assigned different participants a willingness to pay for something and gave others different costs of producing something, and then had the participants come to whatever agreements they wanted. Perhaps some consumers would get the product at cost from generous suppliers, while other suppliers managed to take consumers for most of what they're willing to pay. Maybe the law of one price wouldn't hold. Vernon Smith ran this experiment many times, and many others have run it again, and what he found was that pretty reliably, after 2 rounds of trade, the market reached equilibrium and the law of one price applied. This happened with big groups and small groups, and even worked when he tried to obscure some information from participants. Along with many other clever experiments, Vernon Smith found strong empirical evidence for our conclusions here. And for that, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2002. Vernon Smith showed that Adam Smith was right back in 1776 when he suggested that markets will push resources toward their most valuable uses. That when each of us tries to achieve our goals, it is as if we are led by an invisible hand to promote the outcomes which provide the most benefit to society as well as to ourselves. In other words, markets are an institution which is easy to establish and robust to different circumstances, which will achieve the goals of our economy without any oversight or need for correction. Consider a market that isn't at equilibrium. In the United States, around 100,000 people are currently waiting for a kidney transplant. But it is illegal to buy a kidney or to sell one. Surely those 100,000 people would be willing to pay more than what it would take to get 100,000 others to donate. But this isn't allowed. Instead, around 10,000 black market kidney operations happen each year, hidden from and without the protection of the law. Should there be a market for organs? Is it right for a rich American to pay a poor Bangladeshi $2,000 for a kidney? It is important to note that economics is not ethics, and there can be ethical reasons to stifle economic markets. But I would submit that markets are a way to let each person decide these questions for themselves, and often markets hold more wisdom than you would think. Prices often contain more information than it seems possible. Consider the different options for bagging your groceries. One-time use plastics, like plastic bags, generate a lot of waste and they can be harmful to the environment. Paper bags are seen as environmentally friendlier, but most eco-conscious people have switched to reusable cloth bags. Of course, I don't even need to tell you that reusable bags are more expensive than paper bags, which are more expensive than plastic bags. What we hope is that by reusing the cloth bags, we end up having less of an impact on the environment. However, when the Columbia Climate School did the work of evaluating the full cost of each option, they were themselves surprised to learn that the best choice for the environment was plastic bags. They concluded, generally speaking, bags that are intended to last longer are made of heavier materials, so they use more resources in production and therefore have greater environmental impacts. To equal the relatively low global warming impact of plastic bags, paper and cotton bags need to be used many times. However, it is unlikely that either could survive long enough to be reused enough times to equal the plastic bag's lower impact. Now is a good time to remind you of our Chapter 1 distinction between decoupling and contextualization. Plastic bags are incredibly cheap, so cheap that grocery stores let you use as many as you want without paying a penny. And that low price reflects an extremely low use of resources, which also implies a very low impact on the environment when produced. I'm decoupling there and looking just at the facts as they are. But I'm worried about contextualization. I'm worried that some will hear a reason to dismiss the science behind global warming, or worse, dismiss the science of economics in order to preserve a belief that plastic bags are bad. Hear me now. Plastic bags have costs, and one of them is that they are contributing to man-made climate change. What we have learned just now is that they aren't as bad as some of the other options people have turned to, and that to economists this wasn't so surprising, given the much lower price set by the market for plastic bags. Whether we want them to or not, markets often have a way of overcoming the obstacles we lay in front of them. In Michigan, lawmakers wanted to put a stop to the resale of tickets for sporting events. People were buying up tickets at the sale price and then reselling them to others at a steep markup. Seeing this practice as unsavory, Michigan passed a law that prohibited reselling a ticket for more than face value. This posed a unique problem to students at the University of Michigan. The campus is home to one of the largest sports stadiums in the world, but still more people want to see Michigan football games than there are seats in that stadium. Students are able to get tickets to the game for free, but alumni and other fans have to pay. This, of course, violates our law of one price and creates a huge incentive for students to resell their free ticket at a higher price. But how do you do this legally when the law says you can't charge more than $0 for that ticket? Students didn't sell the tickets. They went to the bookstore and bought cheap pencils, and they sold the pencils to Michigan fans for $50 or $100. And then they gave the people who bought the pencils a free ticket to the game as a bonus. Markets find a way.